Hey guys, good morning. How are you doing? Wednesday, March 23rd, and I'm a little later than my plan is to do this at about 8 a.m. Eastern time daily. So I'm running a little behind a meeting earlier this morning, so I'm a little bit late, so sorry about that. But I hope you're getting ready for a great day of voiceover. I started my day I had a little pickup project for a client in Japan. That only took me a couple of minutes, and so now things have slowed down here for a few minutes. So, hey there, Tom. Good to have you on. Just wanted to stop in and say hi and share a thought with you. I'll try to I'm here to talk about what's happening with voiceover, maybe share some things that are current or relevant, and sometimes, maybe most times, have something specific I can share with you that I hope will be helpful, as you take on your voiceover day. But I was having a discussion with Alex, my son, who's an audio engineer, and his work, what he does, and lives in Chicago, and he works with voiceover talent in setting up helping them make sure their home studios sound as good as they possibly can, number one. Number two, making sure that their audio chain and specifically their stack of plugins is set up to best optimize their voice with their equipment and with their with their space. And he and my daughter Mallory and her husband and kids, they were here this past weekend. We were celebrating two of my grandsons' birthdays. And Alex and I were just talking voiceover, and somehow we got on the topic of, we were talking about my audio, and I like to have him occasionally, take a listen to see what he thinks. And fortunately, he loved it. So that's good. That's a good thing. Because I do everything that I do by ear. He actually understands the science behind it. I'm a by ear kind of guy. And I was talking about, I don't remember the specific thing that brought this up. We were talking about the biggest problem that we tend to notice with voiceover audio, aside from struggles with noise and noise floor and all of that. And that is that the mistake that most people make is they have too much bottom end in their audio. By bottom end, I mean the lower frequencies, the bass, to simplify it, the bass frequencies, those low frequencies. And I understand, sometimes I think it's just because, we're experimenting and trying to see what we think sounds good. And so it's just, we're flying by the seat of our pants. I think for some people, there's a sense that a lot of bass feels like that's what it should be, that means it sounds better, it sounds bigger, it sounds more authoritative. But the reality is, and certainly you want some bottom end in your audio, but too much bottom end, and I guess what's too much, that's where you have to really use your ear, makes the audio muddy. And where you might be thinking you're getting more of that voice of God, deep sound, it may actually be muddying your audio and making it more difficult for your clients or prospective clients. And one of the reasons this is so important, and I think this is important to note, always understand how your clients utilize your product. Usually, very often, I would say more times than not, it's being put to video, but with that video will be music and sometimes sound effects. So more times than not, your voice is part of a larger picture. This is where I'm trying to go. Just remember, it's not just your voice. There's probably going to be music, possibly sound effects with it as well. So it's a bigger picture. You're part of that picture for sure, and you're the part that people need to be able to clearly discern. The music more sets the mood, but they need to hear what you're saying. And if it's too muddy, it's hard to hear and understand what you're saying. So, and don't err on the other side and make it super crisp on the top end so that it's just very thin and high end. But you want to keep that bottom end tight and not too much so that what you're saying is crystal clear and it will cut through the mix. So again, his observation, and it's one of my observations as well when I listen to my students' audio, is that is perhaps the most common mistake, is having too much low end. You could hold on a second. Let me see if I can, I'm going to try to, again, the live streaming thing here on YouTube. Oh, yes. And thank you for asking. My son does consult. You can reach him at Alex, Alex, at BillDeweese.com. Alex, at BillDeweese.com. Deweese is spelled Dewees. And by the way, while I'm trying to do what I'm about to do, I meant to mention this up front. I would be remiss if I did not mention that my spring fever sale is in full swing, and it's only this week. And I do this every year. Let me talk about this for just a second, and then I want to show you something with EQ and how you can help make sure your audio is sounding as good as it can be. Every spring, I do a big sale where I just get a bunch of my best stuff, and I just offer it at a really steeply discounted price. And this year I've got actually 3 packages, 3 levels, depending on what your budget is. Might be you just want kind of a core group of programs, and I have an expanded version of that. And then I have a full-blown 3-month all access to my VoiceOver Blueprint, which is access to all of my training programs. It's also access to all of the live coaching that I do, group coaching. Comes out to about 4 to 5 hours worth a week of, and it's not just me. It's, Alex does some of that. Mallory has a Fiverr coaching webinar. She does. Mike Hathcote does performance coaching and marketing coaching. And so we've got a whole faculty of folks who teach. And then it's part of my private Facebook group as well. So anyhow, go to springfeversale.com. That's the website, Spring Fever Sale, because this is, it's really discounted steeply. So check that out. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Okay, so now you should be able to see my desktop as well. I'm going to watch. I know it's on a delay slightly on YouTube. I want to see if it works. Yes, it does. Okay. So here we go. What you're looking at now, this is Adobe Audition. And I'm going to bring up an Adobe Audition, and if you're using another DAW, it'll have its own EQ. You can use a third-party EQ as well. I'm a big fan of parametric EQs. I like the visual aspect of it. And I like to be able to pull these up and pull them around and adjust the width of the curve and all of that kind of thing. But what I'm going to specifically talk about here now is what, pulling back the low end, or you can use a high-pass filter, which only allows the higher frequencies and not the lower frequencies. But when I'm trying to tighten up that bottom end and not get too much bass to muddy it, I'm going to pull this little dot here, which pulls down the line, which is a visual representation of your EQ. I pull this down, so that bottom end begins to disappear. And then I pull it in until it gets too thin, and then I pull it back. So I'm listening as I do this. This is Kay, an AFS Group employee. His superior, Mary, is telling him about the group's sustainability policy. That's an example of too much bass. This is Kay, an AFS Group employee. His superior, Mary, is telling him about the group's sustainability policy. This is Kay, an AFS Group employee. His superior, Mary, is telling him about the group's sustainability policy. That sounds good. This is Kay, an AFS Group employee. His superior, Mary, is telling him about the group's sustainability policy. So this again, is Kay, an AFS. I hope that helps you. Let me go back to this. All right. So it's just a way, you don't have to be an engineer to do this. It helps. It would certainly help. There's no doubt about that. I'm not an engineer, but I listen to a lot of voiceover. I pay close attention to the commercials I hear on TV. I'm always listening to how they process the audio. And I think once you train your ear to do that, it'll make it easier. But if you're trying to make your audio better, the first thing to check is you want to check and make sure you don't have too much bottom end. Too much bass. So that is my thought for you today. Thank you for checking in. Time for me to move on, get back into the flow of work today, and get something done here, hopefully. But you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.